What's going on, guys? Michael Gaming here and welcome back to the video. Of course, because the new Thursday series is Versus, we are back with an episode of Versus, and this week is slightly different from last week where we did a operator. This week we are doing a gadget in Battlefield 1, and that gadget specifically is grenades. Now, you have noticed there are a lot of grenades in Battlefield 1 and there's a lot of grenade spam. Now, for the most part, I don't want to add to this because I think it's way too much, but I also want to find out which is the better grenade and in practice which one should you use more. Now, the two that you'll see basically 100% of the time are the gas grenade and the fragmentation grenade. Now, the gas grenade I'd argue is the more popular one. If you think about it, how many times a game do you actually see a gas cloud in Battlefield 1? 20 times a game maybe, that's a guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually close. So obviously the gas grenade is extremely popular for a lot of reasons, but the frag grenade is still very formidable. Like I said, I don't want to add to the grenades around Battlefield 1, but I just want to find out what is the better one to use and what should really be using. Like I said, I don't really want to add to the grenades around Battlefield 1, but I do want to find out which one is the more effective one on practice, that is, and which one you should be using more. So straight away I'll get into the frag grenade. Now the frag grenade has a 6-second fuse, but there is no fuse cooking in Battlefield 1. For whatever reason, if there is, I've noticed it before, I try and cook them all the time, but it doesn't work. But honestly, this is kind of weird they haven't put it in, because it makes sense to have it in. You pull the pin in a grenade, safety pin comes off, you've got 6 seconds, and then you can throw a grenade. I guess maybe they make the argument that the player still holds the safety pin in his hand, but then again, no other game does this, so I do kind of think it's weird that they did this. So one thing to combat the 6-second fuse is to maybe throw it really high up in the air so it comes directly down, or maybe just throwing it so that it's going to land and roll, giving you more time and travel distance on the grenade, meaning it has less time when it lands at somebody's feet. So obviously then you have to get used to using one of these things and working out how far you can throw it, how high it goes, and sort of the angles and stuff like that, and obviously bouncing off walls and things that take time as well. But for the most part, it's not too hard to learn. Now, in real life, a frag grenade is essentially just an explosive which has big, heavy chunks of metal on the outer casing, and when the explosive explodes, these little chunks of metal are thrown everywhere across the room and actually cause a hell of a lot of injuries and are pretty brutal. Now, they were used in World War I and they were highly effective. There's stories of like 20 soldiers being in a trench fighting it out, both sides, and all of a sudden somebody gets a hand grenade, chucks it in, hoping to take out anyone he can, and actually gets all 20 people, which is pretty devastating to think about it. And for the most part, it's not really something that you want to run into at all. So it is kind of interesting that does pass over to Battlefield 1, where these things are extremely powerful. For a few tests I did in Battlefield 1, I found that you usually take damage at 12 to 15 meters, and that obviously can vary. Beyond that point, you're going to take more and more until you get super close to it, and at 5 meters, you actually get a kill. So if you throw a grenade that lands within 5 meters of somebody, or there's one that's landed within 5 meters of you, then you're basically dead. Obviously, 4, 3, 2, 1 meters, and it's the exact same thing. You're dead in one grenade. Now obviously beyond 5 meters where it's not that instant kill, if you don't have full health, chances are you are also dead because you don't have full health. You might have 60 health, at which point not much is going to take to kill you. You might have 40, you might have 20, so barely anything is going to take to kill you. And the grenade will do it pretty quickly. What is weird is that if you lie on a grenade with full health, you actually survive with 11 health left. It's really odd this, and I have no idea why it's in the game, because it doesn't make any sense. Surely the grenade should have a lesser effect on people around you when you lie on a grenade, as opposed to not killing you. I believe it was Jack Frag who did some tests where one person lay in a grenade and somebody stood next to them, and the person who stood next to them actually died. So for whatever reason this feature is in Battlefield 1 and I don't quite get it. Honestly, again, it makes so much more sense to be the person who lies on a grenade dies and everybody else survives, but either way, if a grenade lands on you, you have nothing else to do, dive on top of it. Now the second one, the gas grenade, has a massive area of effect. From tests I did, I found that it has an area of effect of around about 6 meters or 20 feet. So if you're in that 20 feet, you begin taking damage, and initially you'll take 15 damage, and then it's 15 damage every second after that point. So that's pretty devastating, along with the fact that you'll be suppressed when you're taking damage. Obviously the way to counter this is by putting your gas mask on by pressing the T button on keyboard, and I believe it's one of the directional keys on a controller. And by putting and when you put the gas mask on, you'll stop taking damage, and the suppression effect will be nullified and just completely eradicated, but you won't be able to aim down sights, and for the most part it's pretty damn hard to see. You now have this glass filter over your screen, and for the most part, again, so by putting a gas mask on, you stop taking damage overall and you completely eradicate the suppression effect. You can see much better, but now you have this gas mask filter over your screen where it's sort of a dirt glass of look, and you have then the housing of the mask around your screen as well, making it kind of hard to see. You also can't aim down sights, meaning that you only have hip fire. So you have a sniper rifle or an LMG, you don't exactly have a lot of hope. And when you are suppressed, then it does mean your recoil is heavily increased, and again your screen is blurred along with the gas, making it so much easier to take you out from outside the gas. And obviously if you're sitting in there, you got increased recoil, taking damage as it is, and you might have somebody shooting at you already. And now with friendly gas grenades, you'll actually get suppressed again. You might not take damage with a friendly gas grenade, but you will get suppressed, and again, that means increased recoil. Now for friendly gas grenades, you will get suppressed. You won't take damage, but you will have the whole thing of increased recoil and the suppression effect overall, and this is kind of a negative, because most of the time that means you're at a massive disadvantage for a gunfight. So for that reason, I would say it is worth putting your gas mask on, maybe changing it to your sidearm if your primary isn't any good at hip fire, because the chances are it has better hip fire than it does recoil under suppression. And now you do actually get 2 gas grenades, so along with a massive area of effect, pretty good damage at 15 damage per second, with 15 initially as you walk in, and then obviously decent range, and 20 feet total radius of damage for 30 seconds is pretty good. So you throw 2 of these, you got 60 seconds of gas suppression on somebody. Obviously put a gas mask on, they can't aim down sights, meaning you do have an advantage. And if you're unprepared, where you're sort of hiding in a corner or something like that, and you've got low health, a gas grenade will kill you extremely quickly. Of course, you can see the gas grenade come and put your gas mask on quick enough, but occasionally it's hard to do this because you have to think about what's happening, if it's a gas grenade, if it's a frag grenade, if it's an incendiary grenade, and by the time you do work out what it is, usually you're dead if you have less than 15 health. So overall, between these two, what do I prefer? Personally, I prefer the frag grenade. It sounds weird to say, seeing as the gas grenade is, in my opinion, clearly better. But for the most part, I prefer the frag grenade, mostly because you can get them back quicker. So you use one, you can get one quickly. Obviously, you have to find an ammo bag, which is difficult in Battlefield 1, but for the most part, you usually find them pretty often. But I do just find that seeing as I use the frag in basically every Battlefield game, I know it's so much better. I know the angles it's going to go off, I know how it's going to bounce off walls, stuff like that, meaning I just know how to use it, and I really enjoy doing so. The gas grenade again is much better in my opinion, mostly because you get 2 of them, larger area of effect, does so much more damage, and it lasts around about 30 seconds, and even if the person isn't taking damage from it, they're at a massive disadvantage because of the gas mask. But again, I just find that if I had the choice to run with 2 gas grenades or a frag grenade, personally I would go with the frag grenade, just because I do find I can use it a lot better than the gas grenades. So regardless what you choose, hopefully you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Mike Up Gaming, out.